Hello, everyone. How are you? And welcome to 5 Steps to Crushing Your Etsy Shop Finances. We will be starting in about a minute, but I just wanted to come on and say hello as you all are rolling in. It's going to be a very exciting session. I'll just take the first 30 seconds to a minute to just kind of go over some logistics so then we can go right into the rich content when we get started. One thing I want to share, and I'll share one more time, but since we are waiting for a few more people to come in, there is an important disclaimer when it comes to content around finances, accounting, taxes. And so I'll give you all a moment to take a look at that again while we're just waiting a few seconds more here. And super excited to be here, super grateful and thankful to Intuit, QuickBooks, and Etsy who have partnered together to provide this powerful session. Action-packed session, as I'd like to say. I am very excited about this content. You'll figure that out real quickly in a moment. Also, just as an awareness of how I like to run my sessions, and I've also, have QuickBooks and Etsy are all in on this, is that let's be super interactive. The platform is so great for that because we have the chat for activity, so y'all can be connecting with one another, which is amazing in the entrepreneurial space. And then let's use the Q&A specifically for questions and answers, related questions, and us either answering live or answering in that panel for topics related to what we're going to be covering. So again, I am completely comfortable with the chat going on. I probably won't go into the chat. Hopefully I can get access to look at it later so I can see what kind of excitement is happening. But I will go ahead and recommend that any questions related to the topics go into the Q&A so that way we don't miss them. And then also, as I'm sure many of you already know, you can go ahead and score them up. If you saw a question and you're like, yeah, I want them to definitely ask her that question, go ahead and vote for it and say, yes, that's the question you want. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And so let me take you back here. Also, just a quick little heads up. It's very rich topics, really great content. I'm not saying that because I created it. I'm saying it because I designed it specifically for your Etsy community. So hopefully you have, as she does, a notepad, a pen, something to take notes. And I'm also going to mention throughout when we're looking at a slide that's just kind of an all-encompassing slide, I'll pause for a moment. Feel free to take a screenshot of it. And then also, if you're watching the replay, if you're going to watch the replay, you'll know those moments when you really just have to take a moment to stop and take it all in. So I'll try my best to shout those out throughout today's session. Okay, everyone. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone, to the 5 Steps to Crushing Your Etsy Shop Finances. My name is Mariette Martinez, financial and tax accountant, and also a small business educator. And as I said before, I partnered here with Etsy and Intuit QuickBooks to provide this session to you so that way you can crush your finances, which really means to intentionally build a business that's profitable, that's sustainable, and that's growth ready based on what your growth goals are. Again, here is the disclaimer. So I'm going to let you go ahead and take a look at that. And I will quickly read it out because we need to do that as well. So the content is for information purposes only and should not be considered legal, accounting, or tax advice. It is not a substitute for obtaining such advice specific to your business, and applicable laws may vary by state or locality. No assurance is given that the information is comprehensive in its coverage or that it's suitable in dealing with your particular situation. And Etsy does not warrant or accept any responsibility for the accuracy, legality, or content of the information provided this session. And something I'll just note as well is that's why it's really important when we get to the Q&A, whether it's throughout, you can ask questions. And when I check in and it's time for Q&A, I'll look at the questions. But if there are some specifically related to your business, I won't be able to answer that just because they have to be general questions, and the best way to ask the question is when it's related to the content. So we wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. Okay, so you all saw that. Also, a couple other quick logistics. So there are closed captions available under your More menu. You can go ahead and turn on closed captions if you want, and you're only turning that on for your instance of this webinar. So feel free to do that. Again, there'll be questions held throughout. You'll know when those are. We also have a team of people here, which again is so awesome. So we have a team of people in the background that are going to be in the chat, that are going to be responding to the Q&A. And then I have Kristen from Etsy that I'm going to be bringing in from time to time and doing some really fun interactions with her as well. So again, feel free to interact in the chat. Feel free to ask specific questions in the Q&A, and we're going to have tons of fun in today's session. A little bit about myself is I have been a financial and tax accountant for over 20 years. After 20 years in the business, over 21 years tax season, so 21 tax seasons, I decided to transition out of my practice, and now I've opened a learning center called Master Books, and I'm the Chief Education Officer there. I'm also a content creator, an educator, a national public transformational speaker, and at heart, I am a mother of 3 children, and just super excited and honored when I can partner with partners like Intuit and Etsy to provide this content to all of you. So again, super excited to meet all of you. And if you want to connect with me, I'm very accessible on social, so you can find me there. And I always like to say that my passion started really early on. So I am a granddaughter and a daughter of mompreneurs, of women entrepreneurs. My grandmother was a tailor for her village in Mexico, and my mother was because she already sold her businesses. She was the owner of a restaurant, really an empire. She opened over 30 restaurants in 29 years. And I was her bookkeeper at the very young age of 12. So you can say that the rest is history. But I'm really excited about, coming together with entrepreneurs and really talking about building those profitable, sustainable, and growth-ready businesses. So let's go ahead and do that. And again, a huge thanks to QuickBooks and Etsy for allowing us to do that today. Now, when I'm going to go right into the content, what I want to do is I'm also going to turn off my camera from time to time because I want you to get hyper focused on the content. So I'm going to do that now. And of course, you'll still be able to hear me, but I'll go ahead and turn off my camera. Okay, everyone. So we're going to talk about the 5 B's to building your booming business. So I talk about the 5 steps to crushing your finances, but to crush your finances, you really need to build an intentional booming business that's ready for growth, profitability, and sustainability. And so that's what we're going to cover today. We're going to cover the 5 B's blueprint to doing that, from business basics to bouncing back in your business. So what does that look like? What is our blueprint today? So we're going to go ahead and first start with the business basics, because many times when we open a business, when we open a shop, we skip over the fundamentals. We skip over the basics. And so it's super important that we go ahead and bring those fundamentals back, because that's truly how you build an intentional business and an intentional business model. Then we're going to cover some financial topics like budget boldly, meaning like you're never too early on in your business to start budgeting. And we're going to talk about budgeting. We're also going to talk about better banking. So how can you think better and smarter about your banking habits and practices? Then we're going to cover beyond bookkeeping. So I love bookkeeping. I've provided bookkeeping services for over 20 years, but many times when you've got the bookkeeping down, you need to think about going beyond bookkeeping. And that's what we're going to cover. And we're going to talk about leveraging technology to do that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how do you bounce back in your business. So how do you go ahead and bounce back and say, okay, I just did a big sale. Okay, I just did a big launch. Okay, I just opened my shop and maybe it didn't work exactly like you expected. And so how do you do that debrief on your business, and how do you bounce back even better the next time you go ahead and launch that new shop or that new product or service? So let's go ahead and talk about all of that in today's session. And we're going to start with the 5 B's and business basics. Success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. Maya Angelou. I love this quote so much because it truly emphasizes the key business principle regarding building that intentional business model. When we're building that intentional business model, not only for profit, not only for sustainability, but for long term success and prosperity, we need to focus on ourselves first, liking yourself first, liking what you do first, and then liking how you're going to do it, which is your business model. So you need to center your plans around you and what you want to do to move your business forward. And that's why I love to say that to build a successful and profitable business, you must step outside of your business, which is what everyone is doing today in this session. They're stepping outside of their business to take a deeper look at your business. And one of the best practices that you can use to do that is to go ahead and explore your business through a framework. So, what I'd like to do is, I'd like to introduce you to a 4-part business essentials framework that I have used every single year in my business. And I also use it alongside my business clients so that way they can really focus on the areas of their business that is directly related to crushing those business finances, bringing in that profitability, and building a path to long term business success. And this 4-part framework focuses on 4 essential areas in your business. The first area is you. And many times that's the hardest area to focus on because you need to step outside of your business. And then guess what? You need to focus on yourself. So let's cover that in a moment. Then you move on to what you're creating and selling, who you're creating and selling for, which is your ideal customer. And then you can go full circle and really either visit, create, or revisit what are your best offers. Are you really offering the best experience, product, service, opportunities for your customers to buy from you? So let's start with the first quadrant, which is all about you. What are you great at? What are you known for and within your family, your friends, your peers, your colleagues, your community? What are they saying about you? What feels comfortable, natural? What comes easy based on your skills, your talents, your gifts, and your interests? What do you want your business to look like? That's something that's missed all the time. But guess what, my friends? You choose what your business is going to look like. What do you truly have a capacity for? Are you a working parent? Right? Do you have capacity? How many hours? What is it going to look like? Are you building a lifestyle business? And more importantly, is this fulfilling your dreams and goals of wealth building? And also, just as important, what do you want this business to feel like when others are experiencing it? And that is well known as that business brand, your brand message and your brand story that you're sharing with the world. That's where we need to focus on first before we move on to what we're actually creating and selling. And once you've done that work, then yes, you move on to the next quadrant. What do you want after that deeper exploration on yourself? What do you want to create and sell? So you look at your offers again and you say, is this what I really want to create and sell? And not only what, now you bring in the how. And how do I want that experience to look like? Because the how is directly related to your finances. How much are you going to invest in yourself and in your business to create that customer experience, to provide that final delivery and delight to your customers when they receive your product, when they experience what you've created and what you're selling to them? Now you're ready to focus on what that is. And now that you've gone deep into your you and you've chosen your what, then of course, the next step is to say, so who gets most excited about this? right? Who is most excited about what I'm providing, what I'm creating, what I'm selling? But here is something even more important when it comes to your business model, because this is your business and you have full control on what this business is going to look like. Who do you get most excited about? So many times when you hear about the ideal customer persona or the ideal customer avatar, the ICA, it's focused on others, but don't forget, who do you want to spend hours, days, months, and years serving, learning about at night, spending hours doing your research and development, and then creating marketing and selling campaigns to sell to them and to market to them and to create for them? Who truly is that person? Who is that human that's going to be appreciating and valuing what you're creating and what you're selling? And then you get to go full circle. That's the beauty of framework. You get to go full circle. And here's one of those opportunities to look at this quadrant, all four of them at the same time. This is the culmination of everything you've done. You've gone deep into your what, your customer, and now you get to either visit, create, or revisit, because many times this is something you do throughout your business. You don't do it once. Many times you did this framework every single year to make sure that you still want to continue creating and selling what you're offering. So now, once you've made it to your offers, what are you focusing on now? You're focusing on what you want to do, how you want that experience to look and feel like, and then ultimately who you're most excited about when it comes to marketing and selling to them. Okay, so let's just imagine for a moment that you have gone through that business essentials framework and you have taken that deeper journey to validate and solidify what you are going to offer. But now let's talk about crushing your finances. And when we want to crush your finances to become more profitable in your business, that means that you take what you're already offering, your current offers, and you zoom into them and you focus on making them greater offers, on more profitable offers. And you want to go ahead and set aside some goals alongside those offers. So let's look at that together. So let's consider that you are ready to turn what you are creating and selling into a great, irresistible offer. Why? Because to sell something faster and easier to your ideal customer, it needs to be irresistible. That's the key. That's the business model, is you want it to be irresistible. So how do we do that? Well, here are some suggestions. How about bundling your complementary products? So there's going to be a high demand for one product, but then if you bundle it with another, there's going to be a high curiosity for the other one. So why are those offers being bundled? You're going to have your customers become curious on that additional product, service, or offering that you've bundled it with. Sell at different price points with specials or add a coupon. So, in a recent fitsmallbusiness.com article, more than 15% of buyers said if it was on special or if they were provided a coupon, they would buy again from the same business, from the same shop. And so that's why we do launch specials. We do have those small business Saturdays, and we invest all that time to really go all in on packaging and pricing and providing those extra special points and incentives. Multiple payment and shipping options. Well, you know that when it comes to paying, when it comes to shipping, when it comes to having pricing, we want it to be frictionless, right? We want it to be painless. I know personally, and you can think about this on your own, I always like to consider myself as the person that is purchasing. And if I'm purchasing from myself, should I have to click 5 times to actually purchase something? Right? It's not frictionless. It's not painless. And by the way, after the 3rd click, I'm already frustrated and I'm off that website. So how can we go ahead and make it a frictionless and painless experience? Optimize your copy for titles and keywords. Now, many people think about when it comes to financiers or building an offer, they focus on the products, they focus on the pricing, and they even focus on the shipping. But what about making it easier for your customers to find you? What about focusing on the copy? The copy is how you describe your product, right? It's the marketing copy. Are you speaking to your ideal customer that we just talked about? Are you tagging it correctly? Does it have the right title? Are you putting the right keywords so it's better for SEO and searching purposes? So that is all completely and directly related to making sure you are selling your best offers. Create a unique customer experience, and plan your product releases and sales. So, my friends, if we pull back the business model idea again, it all comes back to planning. So, if you now know what your best offers are, then you need to plan these releases. So, for example, as I mentioned before, I'm an educator, and when I'm going to launch a new program, a new cohort, a new course, I start that launch plan 2 months before. So 2 months before, I'm already planning the release. I already have all of my tech, all of my payment options, all of my bundled products. I have all of that ready to go. And then I have a calendar where everything is on my calendar. And then I just start dropping that copy again, the marketing copy and the sales copy on those specific dates so I can start getting the buzz and getting people to learn about my offers. That's how I can guarantee that people are going to buy from me. Okay, so we have our great offers, but how do we align our offers with our goals? This is super important, going back to the concept of planning. So I don't just plan that I'm going to have a sale of new products or I'm going to have a new launch. I have goals aligned with those offers. And so goals can be either quantitative, which most people are comfortable with, that relates to data and to numbers, or goals can be qualitative. So that relates to improving the quality of your customer experience, improving the quality of your sales process. Again, going back to how to make a sale frictionless and painless. And so keep that in mind. Your goals can be quantitative, related to numbers and data, or your goals can be qualitative, which is numbers and data, or quantitative, which is related to the quality of what you're bringing to the table. So here are some examples. When it comes to quantity, revenue by product, how much revenue did you receive from a specific product? Number of products sold. So, which are your highest grossing products, right? Maybe you have 3 products, but the only 2 of them are higher grossing, and the third one is really not selling. So, perhaps you bundle up that third product with one of the other 2 products. Number of new and repeat customers. Remember, the easiest customer to sell to is your repeat customer. So, are you getting repeat customer sales? Are you getting new customer sales? How are you keeping track of this data and metrics? Now, let's talk about some quantitative data. So that was quantitative data. Let's talk about qualitative data. So the quality of what you're doing. Capture those reviews and testimonials. Are your customers speaking highly about you? Are they providing you testimonials and saying that you have a quality experience, right? Those reviews. Are you hearing your customers, right? Are you hearing your customers and then improving your process? So let's say you keep on hearing from your customers that it takes too much work to find your offers, too many clicks to purchase your offers. The copy, which is the written information and description about your products, is very confusing. They just don't know what to buy. Have you gone back and have you improved that process? Have you improved that process to let people know about your products that you're selling? And of course, are you delighting your customer experience? Because when it comes down to it, people buy because they're excited to buy, because they're delighted to buy. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just take a moment to check in. And so I will go ahead and see if Kristen, based on the topics we just covered, is there anything specific you want me to go ahead and respond to in the Q&A?
Yeah, we have one question. Shelter Island Paper asked, hello, both Etsy and QuickBooks mentioned the app Sync with Etsy, which I used and loved for years. Unfortunately, it has stopped working and is no longer available in QuickBooks. How can I access this again? Or is there another app used to sync Etsy and QuickBooks?
Okay, so the sync with Etsy is in part of the QuickBooks Online suite. So we'll talk a little bit about it later on when we cover beyond technology. But just to be clear, the QuickBooks Online suite, you have QuickBooks Solopreneur, which is one, it's on its own, and then you have the full QuickBooks Online suite, which is Simple Start, Essentials, Plus, and Advanced. So the full suite outside of the Solopreneur does use the sync to Etsy connection. It has a integration. So if you're referring to one of those versions inside that suite, then you'll want to talk to technical support, or we actually have an Intuit rep in here that she can respond to your question. If you're referring specifically to Solopreneur, which is the newest version of QuickBooks for the solopreneur, for the self-employed, then that doesn't have that integration to Etsy because you don't have apps available in that particular version. So hopefully that answered your question. And Intuit is currently transitioning out of QuickBooks Self-Employed, which was the software recommended for solopreneurs and Etsy sellers for many years. And they are now recommending QuickBooks Solopreneur. Okay, any other questions I can answer real quick?
I think we're good to move forward. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now let's go ahead and explore the budget boldly concept. So as you can see that the concepts we just covered right now, when it comes to revisiting your business model, when it comes to creating and designing your best offers, and then aligning those offers with your goals, what we're really talking about is, do you have a budget for all of this? And so that's why I love to say budget boldly, because you're never too early in your business to budget. I love this quote by former President Barack Obama that says, "A budget is more than just a series of numbers on a page. It is an embodiment of our values." So again, it brings back the concept of your business model, because your business model actually starts with your core values. But the power in this particular quote as well is that you budget because you value where your business is going. You want to put a value to every number that you are bringing in and that you're spending in your business. And so it aligns so perfectly on the idea that budgeting is a fundamental step to plan for profitability, growth for your business. Again, crushing your finances means that you are managing your finances and that you're planning for profitability and growth for your business. So let's give you some best practices around budgeting. So first, a budget supports business profitability by. So what does it actually do? What does a budget actually do? Well, it forecasts your sales. So you're planning ahead for that money coming in, which is really exciting, because the only way that you can support profitability, that you can plan for profitability, is that you have to plan ahead. And so budget is basically a financial plan, and it starts with forecasting sales. Estimating costs. So now you're going to estimate costs related to starting your business, building and running a profitable business or shop. And so even if you don't necessarily have those costs yet, again, a budget is a plan. So you're thinking and looking ahead and doing your research, which is very important, to estimate the costs and make sure that you are ready for those incoming costs. You then get to allocate your funds to those specific expenses. That's the concept of a value-based budget, that every dollar has a purpose. Every single dollar has a purpose because you are forecasting your sales, you're estimating your costs, and then you're allocating your funds intentionally. You want to prevent any mismanagement and misuse of funds. And let me tell you, some people say, well, I'm a solopreneur. Who's going to mismanage my funds? You. You can mismanage your own funds. I'm a solopreneur as well, and I can absolutely mismanage and misuse my funds. So a budget provides not only profitability, but accountability. You can also adjust for real-time cash flow, what's happening in real life through something called a budget versus actual. And of course, as I mentioned, you can plan for profit. How does it support business growth? Well, as we saw already, you can determine your goals and you can prioritize what products you're going to sell and where you're going to focus based on your budget. You can invest in specific resources that are going to help you get prepared. So let's say you did that 4-part essentials framework and you're like, okay, so now based on what came up for me, I need to invest in more resources. I need to invest in more people, in better systems in my business. Well, your budget will support that investment. It will also prepare you for outside funding and infusions of capital, prioritizing yourself so you can pay yourself and your key expenditures first. This should be not only highlighted and bolded, but this should pop out at you. Yes, you are part of your budget. You need to pay yourself from your budget. And so let's just quickly talk about a 3-step business budget process, from starting with forecasting sales to calculating expenses to planning for profit. So step 1, budget, forecast your sales. So what does it mean to forecast your sales? Well, it means you're going to focus on sales first. So you're going to look at all the sources of revenue that's coming into your business, AKA your customer sales, so sales from your product or service, and you're going to go ahead and forecast when that's going to come in. Do you have heavy shop sales in the beginning of the year? Do you have awesome Black Friday sales or Small Business Saturday sales? Or do you sell a lot during the holidays? And so you are forecasting sales, which means you want to go ahead and predict what those sales are going to look like. Some examples of this would be what has happened in the past, known as prior period numbers. So what has happened in the past? And of course, the easiest way to pull this up is by looking at your profit and loss statement for your business. Not only what is historical in the past, but what has adjusted now. So maybe you in the past always had some good winter sales, but now you have a new cool summer product. And so now you can forecast more sales during the summer. And then also, what about the trends that you're seeing in your industry? What about the patterns that you're seeing based on the products that you're selling? Then you move on to allocating expenses. Step 2. And that's when you're going to go ahead and be very honest about the cost to run your business. What does it look like to run your business? The fixed cost, the variable cost, the one-time startup cost. So there's going to be costs that are maybe heavier when you first start your business. So when it comes to thinking about these are some examples. They're not limited to these examples. What are those costs that you always spend to sell a specific product? To sell a specific product, you always have to have these specific costs. So those are costs related to selling a specific product. What about your own costs, your business costs, right? As I mentioned before, you got to consider your everyday fixed costs for running your business, which also includes your pay. What about the costs that are related to a specific time of the year based on your business cycle or seasonal trends that are happening? I always seem to have to buy more shipping equipment and materials and supplies during a specific time. Well, that's okay, everyone. It's okay that you always have to buy more shipping materials if you're shipping more, right? If you're shipping more, that's a very good thing. And then ultimately, when you are starting a business, or let's say when you're deciding to incorporate your business or legalize your business in a specific way, there may be additional setup costs and startup costs related to that. Step 3, plan for profit. So yes, this is the most exciting thing about a budget. And interesting enough, I think it spoke about the least. You can plan for profit. And why would you not want to plan for profit? So when you do a budget and you forecasted your sales and you estimated your expenses, you want the bottom line to what? You want it to be what's called in the black. It's the profit line. So the bottom line of your budget should be calculating the budgeted revenue, the budgeted expenses, and it should be positive on the bottom, right? Positive on the bottom means you're planning for profit, also known as in the black. It's also why we have the Black Friday sales, because businesses want to get back into the black. Now, when it's positive, it can just be a break even. It doesn't mean you may be super profitable, but you are on your path to profitability. You are planning for profit. So just so you're aware, in the black could mean a break even number or a small profit number, or it can be a great indication that you are starting to calculate your numbers and be on top of your numbers and you're planning for profit. But of course, reality sets in and you're like, well, Mariette, my number isn't black, it's red. That's okay, everyone. When the total is negative, that just indicates you need to spend more time on your numbers. You need to go ahead and pay closer attention to the forecasted sales that you're estimating, to the estimated cost that you're planning on spending on, because we want to get as close to reality and we want to get as far away from being in the red and closer to being in the black. Now, my friends, that was just a short summary of the power of a budget and how to create a budget. But don't worry, if you visit masterbooks.com, I have a completely free budget masterclass and budget for you. So don't worry about it. You don't have to create this for you. There's a spreadsheet for that. And so you can go ahead and check that out later on your own. Okay. So again, I'm going to quickly check in here and see if we have any questions about budgeting. Kristen?
No questions around budgeting at this time.
Okay, awesome. Well, woo, I think everyone's taking it all in then, which is usually the case in these sessions. So, okay, let's go ahead and keep going. So now let's talk about better banking. And I'd love to bring up this quote by Warren Buffett. Of course, our master in money, right? If you don't follow Warren Buffett, we should all follow Warren Buffett. He's a money master. And he says, you only have to do a very few things right in your life, so long as you don't do too many things wrong. And I giggle for a moment because I'm like, oh, shoot, then what are those things right that I have to do when I relate that to business? And guess what, my friends? What you need to do right is banking. We need to learn better banking habits. So that's why I like to say, building a profitable, sustainable business requires developing better banking habits, AKA better money habits. And you know where that starts? It starts with really understanding your business. This is something I teach business owners every day. And it doesn't matter if they just opened a business or a shop or if they've been in business for 5 years. You are separate from your business. You need to have separate finances, banking, bookkeeping from your business. Why? Because even though you are essential to your business, absolutely, you're the visionary, you're the founder, you're the owner, but you are not your business. And so that's why we have to realize we are separate from the business, which means we are an owner. If it's a sole proprietor, a partner, if it's a partnership, a member, if it's a limited liability company, a shareholder, if it's for profit, or even a stakeholder, if it's nonprofit. And it also means we need to cut out those personal old habits of commingling our personal and business funds. And we need to own up to the new, better business bookkeeping habits, which is to keep our business and our money, personal money transactions separate. And so, of course, my friends, that means opening a separate business account, because it will make your life, your business's life, and your financial partners, when you eventually decide to work with a bookkeeper, an accountant, or a tax professional, it will make their lives so much easier as well. So building better banking habits really starts with banking basics. And I actually love talking about banking basics because it really takes away the fear, the anxiety, the frustration, and the stress when it comes to money. Because I know that finances is, for some people, not me, but for some people, it's not the most exciting topic. But it actually could be so empowering. And by the way, it actually could be fun and creative too. So let's talk a little bit about that. So here we go. Let's start with clear with what comes in and what comes out of our business. So when I talk about this or teach this to my business community, oh, they know, I already know what comes into my business. It's all my customer payments, it's all of the revenue, all of the sales. Absolutely, yes. You are absolutely correct about that. And usually will see that on your bank statement under deposits and additions. But guess what? Not all money that comes in is revenue or is sales or income. There are other items that come into your business that you're going to find under that deposits, additions, or money in column that we need to be very mindful and very careful to not call it income. And as an accountant of over 20 years, I've gone and looked at books where the customer, my client, put all of the money into income. And then I went to do their books and I'm like, wow, you've had an amazing stellar year. You have over $300,000 in sales for this year. And they look at me and their eyes are almost popping out and they're like, what? I wish. No, I've only had about 125,000. And I'm like, but it shows $300,000 in sales. Well, guess what they put under sales and under money in? They put their own capital contributions. They put loans. They put other lines of credit and cash advances. They put grants. They put state funding and state assistance. And I'm like, no. We need to separate that. We need to separate because not all money in is created equal. Not all money in is income. Another example of that is when you sell to a customer, right? And then they go ahead and do a refund. What does that look like? Or if you purchase from a vendor and then you go ahead and decide to return that and the money comes back in, what does that look like? So remember, when money in and money out is moving from your business, it's not always income. Now let's look at the other side of that. What about when the money comes out of your business? So usually, again, on the bank statement, you'll see that under the withdrawals or subtractions column, right? We know that. And so usually the first thing I hear from my clients, well, I already know what all that is. Oh, really? So everything under your withdrawals is what? They're all business costs. They're all expenses. And hopefully they want them to be all tax deductible expenses as well. And I go, that's not necessarily true. There can be other items. There could be other line items that are under that column that are not expenses. How about when you withdraw money out of the business? That is not an expense. If you are a sole proprietor, that's considered a capital withdrawal. How about when you're paying back those bank and loan principal amounts? That's not an expense. That's a repayment of a principal payment that should be on the balance sheet. What about when you're transferring money in and out? All you're doing is taking money from one hand and putting it into the other hand. That is not an expense, right? So here is what I'm saying. We really need to step back and really understand, go old school, pull out that bank statement, pull out those markers, those highlighters, and start truly understanding what are you seeing in each one of those columns? What are you seeing in the deposit column? Maybe let's go ahead and highlight all the money in that's income green. And then let's highlight any other money in transactions blue. Or for the withdrawals, let's go ahead and highlight all of the real cost purple. But then let's highlight the other type of cost yellow. So I've actually done these practices with business owners for years, and it's eye-opening, my friends. It's truly eye-opening. So let's assume you've done this work and now you're ready to understand what's coming. Well, don't forget about who it's coming in from. Is the money related to you, the owner of the business? Is the money related to the customer? The customer is who pays you in the business. Is the money related to a vendor? So this is who you're paying to, right? You pay out to a vendor. Or is the money related to other team members in your business? Maybe you have employees, maybe you have contractors, maybe you use outside services, maybe you use consultants, coaches, professional services. So you really need to understand not only what that transaction is, but who is it coming from? And then ultimately, then you're going to transition to Okay, now that I really understand what's going in and out of my business, let me make some smarter moves about securing my bank account that I'm going to use. And here are just some examples of things you should think about. Is that online bank, or that bank going to provide you special fees? Are they going to allow you to have multiple bank accounts? Because many times I always suggest to my clients, they should have at least 3 bank accounts: their operations bank account, their sales bank account, and also their taxes bank account. Does the bank account require minimum balances? So there's other areas of what you should be looking for your business on the go, because I know you all have businesses on the go. I know you all are trying to manage your life, manage your capacity, maybe managing, being a working parent. So we need to think smarter, and we need to think about what it looks like to have better banking habits. And what does that mean? It means that you will be in a better place. So better banking equals better bookkeeping. Okay. So again, I'm going to jump in here and see how we're doing, Kristen.
Yeah, we actually had a couple of budget questions come through the chat, which is I missed it earlier, so I'm going to surface them now.
Sure.
Our first question is from Eve. How do you budget and forecast sales if you are just starting and have no sales yet?
Outstanding question. So the best way to do that is to research. So there is so much information online. You can go ahead and almost create like a persona for your own business, what you're going to be selling, when you're going to be selling it, and then go ahead and research what their sales look like, and when do those sales come in, how much sales have they done. You honestly can pull in AI at that point. There's so much data out there. You can jump onto ChatGPT and say, I have this kind of business, and what would be, estimated income and expenses for this type of business. ChatGPT is really brilliant when it comes to that, or other AI tools. And then don't be afraid. I've done this for years. Ask other Etsy sellers. There are very generous Etsy sellers and business owners out there that are open to share where they're at in their business and what their sales and their costs look like for their business. So feel free to also get on a call with a few sellers that are similar to you and get some ideas as well.
Great. Our next question is, are there any easy budget tools or templates you can recommend?
Yes, my free one on masteryourbooks.com. It's completely free. It's completely done for you. And there's an actual class that you can watch with an online YouTube video, and then you could just download it. Other than that, there's absolutely some. You can, again, just Google free budget tools. I honestly would not recommend you pay for a budget tool. I think the only thing you would want to pay for if you're going to invest in your business is to invest in learning how to budget. Because many people, even if they have a tool, they actually don't know how to budget. So you can go back and watch this replay on those examples of how budget helps you be profitable, how you plan it. But if you're still struggling a little bit on the education side of budget, you can go ahead and take some low-cost classes on how to budget. But truly, once you've opened up a template and you see that all it is really money in, money out, and then planning for profit, that's essentially what it is to budget. Do we have any other questions?
Yes. Our next question is, how do you handle a transaction you accidentally paid with personal funds? Do you write a PO to yourself?
Great question. So that is way too complicated. Keep it super simple. So let's say, for example, you went ahead and you went to Costco, which happens all the time. This is the famous one I get all the time. You went to Costco, and on that purchase, you basically did business expenses, and then you dropped in, some personal items, shampoo, conditioner, whatever it is. When that transaction comes in through your bank, you can actually split that transaction. And the transaction that's related to business should go to your business, and the transaction that's related to personal should go to what's called owner's withdrawal. Okay, owner's withdrawal. And owner's withdrawal is always a balance sheet item. So that way, it doesn't hit your profit and loss. It's not part of your expenses, and you absolutely are separating it. Now, if you want to be more technical and let's say you want to be a little bit more legit, people can create what are called accountable plans, where they can go ahead and basically reimburse themselves as well. But again, that's a little bit more complicated. You can keep it as simple as just going back to that transaction and splitting it if it was both business or personal, or if it was just a personal transaction using your business card. We want to do very little of that, but it happens. So then go to that business transaction inside of your bookkeeping software and categorize it as owner's draw. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. I'm sure there's more questions. I'm going to keep going and then see if we have some time for questions at the end. Okay, so now let's talk about going beyond bookkeeping. So, when I talk about going beyond bookkeeping, what I'm really saying is that bookkeeping is amazing and it's important. I mean, we just covered it right now, not only on the concept of better banking and better money habits, but also when you're doing better banking and better money habits, you're essentially doing bookkeeping. But when we want to think about beyond bookkeeping, we want to bring in technology. We want to leverage technology. So, no better friend out there to talk about this than Bill Gates. Bill Gates says the advance of technology is based on making it fit in so that you don't really even notice it. So, it's a part of everyday life. I love that so much because that's actually how I choose my technology. It's how I choose my software and my applications. If it just fits into my life, if it's just part of my everyday life and it betters my everyday life and makes it easier, then it becomes part of my technology. So let's talk about how you can create an automated technology-based bookkeeping system that provides your business with that concept of just fitting in, just fitting in. So, for example, you want to have a digital, online, automated technology that just tracks your money and money out in one place. You don't want to have to think about it. You want it to provide smarter and faster visibility of your business. So it's working when you're sleeping, basically. You wanted to keep your business finances organized. And what everybody wants is to have audit proof source documents. So you want to be able to upload and save receipts and documents into this system. You want it to support your everyday life. So, in other words, it needs to fit into your life. It needs to be frictionless and seamless into your life. You want to be able to separate your business and personal transactions. Yes. Now be mindful. I'm not saying you should have personal transactions in your business banking or in your bookkeeping, but it happens, my friends. So you want to be able to have an option to separate business and personal. It creates a clear path to becoming more educated, informed in your bookkeeping. And of course, it provides a gateway to now think about your business from a growth perspective, starting to care about those accounting insights that matter. So we're going to quickly look at QuickBooks Solopreneur that provides so much of these benefits. So QuickBooks Solopreneur is a option, a new option for the solopreneur, for the business owner. And let me see why this video is not playing. Sorry, guys. Let me try it one more time. I don't know why it won't play for you guys, but hopefully it'll play. Let me try. Oh, shoot. I had a really cool video for you. I'm going to try it one last time. Nope, not working. So QuickBooks Solopreneur is the option for the solopreneur. As I mentioned earlier, it provides you that opportunity to do all the things that provide frictionless bookkeeping in your business. It provides you a financial dashboard. It provides you a transaction menu where you can bring in all of your bookkeeping from any bank account or credit card account, unlimited accounts, and you can separate business and personal. You can also get paid. So you have invoicing options there. You can create customer goals. You can also manage your taxes in there so you can keep track of your income taxes. You have a free mileage tool in there, and then you can even consider some banking options as well. And I actually have that same full demo and a much more in-depth demo on my YouTube channel at masterbooks.com. So go ahead and check a look at that. I think I gave you about a 10-minute demo on QuickBooks Solopreneur. Okay, so the last thing we want to talk about now is bouncing better. And I'm just going to answer the question. Yes, solopreneur is appropriate for Schedule C. It's not appropriate for business entities like S Corps, C Corps, or partnerships. So let's talk about bouncing back and let's bring in Lily Tomlin, actress comedian, to go ahead and start this topic for us. The road to success is always under construction. And just like her making us laugh, I giggle a moment because it's so true. The essence of entrepreneurship is that we're always learning, we're always growing, and we're always a work in progress. We're always under construction. And that's why I like to say, and I truly believe this, my friends, that being a growth ready business, so you're ready to grow, whatever your goals are, you are ready to learn from that. You're ready to grow from what's happened to you, and you are ready to bounce back. You're always willing to reflect, refine, and reignite your business because you're on fire. You're an entrepreneur. You chose entrepreneurship to build wealth. So let's talk about what it looks like to bounce back. Remember those great offers, those irresistible offers? Remember all that work you did to create those offers and then to set your goals alongside those offers? Well, guess what? Growth happens when you review, when you revisit, and when you refine what actually happened when you put those offers out into the world. Growth happens in the wrap up. So, what's the wrap up? The wrap up is your opportunity to focus on specific areas in your business that are directly related to your finances, directly related to your business performance. Now, there are many areas that you can include in the wrap up, especially when you're wrapping up different projects, different product launches, different big sales days. We're just going to focus on 3 wrap up areas. We're going to start with sales performance. So let's use that example that you just had a big sales day. So when you're in your wrap up is when you're reviewing, reflecting, and refining everything that happened. Look at your total sales. Look at your total sales by product, by customer. How about your average order value? So what was the average sales that you had? And if you set those aligned goals, what happened? What happened between what actually you set as a goal and the sale on that day? How about the unsold products? What do we want to do with those unsold products? Do we want to bundle them now? Do we want to create special offers? Or guess what? Do we want to no longer sell them anymore? Also, don't forget the metrics like gross sales, which is what you brought in versus gross profit. So that's after all of your direct costs related to your business. And gross profit, which is your revenue minus those direct materials and then all your other expenses. So these are metrics that you really need to be looking at. Now let's look on the expense side. And we always want to start with sales because we want to get excited about the numbers in, right? The money in. But what about the expenses and operations side of your business? Did you go ahead and tag those specific items? Right? Did you go ahead and make sure people are aware of those items that you're selling? And when you did, were those items that you sold related to any specific expenses? Maybe I gave you the example of how we sell a lot in a specific time. So we have to buy a lot of shipping material, specific shipping material. So maybe you need to be mindful of that and tag that and say, I always have to buy this particular supplier material during this time of the year. I always seem to always have to spend this specifically related expense during this part of the year. That way you can do what? You can budget for it, right? So notate all of those extra expenses, all those one-time considerations. Also, is there a specific time of the year when you bring in outside services, when you bring in help? Notate that as well. When do you need to have a bigger team, right? A team doesn't necessarily mean you're going to bring in new payroll and employees, but maybe you're going to bring in outside services. Maybe you're going to contract some help. So when does that happen, right? Also, when it comes to assessing your expenses and your operations, how is your business making it simpler for your customers? Do you have a seamless and frictionless process? And if you don't, then you need to go ahead and look at your operations and say, hey, I need to improve this. I need to bring in more automations. I need to reflect on the systems and apps apps that I'm using, because this last big sales day, I had so many system issues. I had so many support and technical issues. So I don't want that to happen again, right? How can I go ahead and look at that? And then lastly, the customer experience. And even though I put it last in this comment, it's really the most important. So what are you hearing from your customers? What's the feedback? What are those requests? What do they love most? What's their favorite, right? And how are you going to follow up with them? Now that they've bought from you, maybe they become a new customer or repeat customer. How are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to stay connected with them? What kind of programs are you going to create to keep that loyalty with your customers? And during that wrap up, what you're really doing is what I call the debrief. And debrief is something I do in every single thing I do. Like, for example, after this workshop, I'm going to do a debrief and I'm going to ask myself these questions. Did that work? What didn't work? What can I do better about that experience, about that project? And so the wrap up is essentially a debrief for a specific time or project or experience. And so you want to make sure that your wrap up, okay, is scheduled. You want to make sure that you have a safe and open environment to be able to get this kind of feedback. So if you're doing this with your team, which you should, right? You want to have a very safe and open environment for them to let you know what, that didn't really work so well. We probably need to work on that, or we really do need to go ahead and improve our systems. Also, when it comes to doing a wrap up and a debrief, don't forget to document the process. It's very simple these days. If you're doing it on a Zoom session, you can let AI create a summary for you, or you can keep the video. And of course, the more simple these wrap up and debriefs are, the better. Don't overcomplicate this. Just say, hey team, we had a big sales day on Saturday. We're meeting on Wednesday for a debrief. And I want you to come with 3 questions. What worked, what didn't, and what can we do better? That's it. That's all you need to do when it comes to a debrief. Okay, so I'm going to do my last check-in here before we go ahead and wrap up. Anything else, Kristen, that you want me to go ahead and look at? I'm going to try really quickly to look at the top questions and see if there's anything you haven't mentioned yet. But while I'm looking at that, anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, I think we have time for one more question. Wendy asked, what is the best way to calculate the prices you charge for your products so that you are making the profit you need? And what is a reasonable profit margin?
Okay, so that's a much longer question and it's very specific, but obviously the best way to price is going to be based on your costs. So how much is it going to cost for you to sell that? So for you to ever make a profit, you actually have to sell something above your costs, right? But the reason why I say it's a bigger question is because price is based on your value. So just because you sell a product at, let's say, $5 and the profit is $3, right? Because it only costs you $3 to create it, package it, and deliver it. Maybe you're providing massive value. Maybe you're creating an amazing customer experience. So in that case, the value you add to a product or customer experience increases the price. So that's why sometimes I've had people say, wait, you charge $1,500 for a tax return, when I can see that people are charging $1,000 for a tax return. And I said, yes. Do you want to talk about the value you're going to get from that tax return? So do you want to talk about the experience that we're going to have together when we go through your finances and we find those tax strategies? And then you can go ahead and talk about the price again. So the price is not only the cost it takes to get that product out, it's the value and the customer experience you've created. And that's how you come up with your price. And when it comes to profit margin, the best way to research reasonable profit margins, again, is to do some research on your industry and the trends and patterns for your industry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up, everyone. And again, thank you all for being here. Again, I wanted to give you tons of content, so I'm sorry if I didn't get to any questions. You did get my email address, so you could always email me any topic related questions, so not personal, legal, or tax advice, and I can go ahead and answer those for you. Okay, everyone, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So today we focused on your business basics, on budgeting boldly, and it's never too soon to budget, because what do? You budget for profit. better banking and creating better money habits so that way you can feel super confident of what's coming in and out of your business. And then, of course, moving on to find the best banking options for you, focusing on going beyond bookkeeping with technology, and then bouncing back better and faster with the wrap up and the debrief. I want to remind you that you have an really awesome opportunity to QuickBooks Solopreneur. It's also going to be part of your handout and also your email for those that have registered to learn more about QuickBooks Solopreneur. You have an awesome special there. And again, you can go to the demo that I did on my Master Books YouTube channel to learn more about QuickBooks Solopreneur. And then also, if you were like, hey, why didn't she talk about taxes? So we have an awesome handout for you that comes to talking deeper into tax strategies. As I mentioned, disclaimer, we couldn't go too deep into tax planning or strategies in this session, but Intuit has created an amazing handout for all of you, which you should have not only in the chat right now. So we're going to drop that inside the chat for you, but you're also going to go ahead and have it for you in the email. And so you can go ahead and take a look at some cool tax strategies in that handout. So my friends, let's go ahead and close up. And I'm going to close it up with one of my favorite mentors, and that is Scott Cook, the founder of Intuit. And he says, technology is just a catalyst at times for fundamental forces already present. So if you are not familiar with Scott Cook, he is the founder of Intuit. So he's not the current CEO, but he's the founder of Intuit from the early 1980s. So of course he is a catalyst in technology. But what I love about this quote is that he is focusing on the fundamental forces. And that's what today was all about. It was to remember that we all need to go back to those fundamental forces, best practices, better habits, so we can build that profitable, that sustainable, that prosperous business that you all deserve and desire. And when we put intentionality, when we add technology, and when we have champions like today, Etsy and QuickBooks to support us, you will all become unstoppable in your business and your wealth journey. Thank you all so very much. And I hope you enjoyed this workshop.